Yo, what's good, everybody? Welcome into another episode of the BeBall Jones podcast. Of course, I am BeBall Jones, and of course, wait, that is Nelson Haskins. He is the reigning defensive player of the year, the Peach Belt Conference. Man, what's up?
What's going on, bro? How you doing?
I can't complain, man. I can't complain, man. Just pushing through life that like everybody else.
Man, I feel that, man. Trying to finish this schoolwork and junk over here, man.
Of course, man. You can't beat back-to-back Peach Belt Conference without finishing your schoolwork, man.
No, you're absolutely right. You can't.
But yeah, man. Let's go ahead and get into it today, man. So we kind of touched on this before about how we touched on it multiple times actually about how the game has changed, man. But today I really want to take a deeper dive into it about how the game has changed. So for me personally, man, like, of course I'm a 90s baby, you're a 90s baby too, but I'm a little bit older. But for me personally, I got into the game when I was born. Jordan was a Birmingham Baron, a baseball player. So the game was a little different than, a lot of people talk about the game and how it is. Not that this Jordan, but that's just kind of what I came into. And so for me, early 2000s, when I really started kind of really getting into it for myself, and a little bit later on, I really started to develop, an understanding for the game. Not just knowing of the game, but an understanding of it, man. So that's just kind of like the starting point, the genesis of, for me, how I got into basketball. And so from the late 90s, early 2000s to right now, 2022, it's almost two different products out there, man. So we're just going to get into how the game has changed really in about 20 years for the most part, give or take a few years. But so tell me, man, for you personally, what was your beginning into the game of basketball, man? What got you into the game and how, in your eyes, to see the game being played back then?
Uh, well, you kind of said you're a little bit older than me, so but when I was born in '99, so when I came into the world, Jordan was on his way out, clearly, and then by the time I was old enough to know what was going on, he wasn't in the league no more. So I've never seen Jordan play, but my first real memories of basketball, of NBA basketball, is really like the '08, '09 Boston Celtics around that time. Like the Celtics and the Lakers, and that 3 year span of them going to the finals. That's like my first real like memories of basketball. I was like 7, 8 when that was happening. Cause and KG my favorite player, one of my favorite players all time. So that's part of what that has part of what to do with that. Cause them '08 Celtics used to be my team. Like that was my team. I was a big Celtics fan back then, but mostly because of KG. So, but that team, Rondo, Ray Allen, Paul Pierce, KG, Kendrick Perkins, Big Baby Davis coming off the bench, you know, that was my team back in them days. So that was my first real memories of basketball for real, for real. And then before that, I mean not before that, and then other than them, it was the Lakers on the other side because they feel like they was the two biggest teams at the time. So them like the two teams I remember the most, obviously. And they had Kobe, Pau Gasol, Lamar Odom around this time. Derek Fisher was still there. Andrew Bynum, back when Andrew Bynum was one of the better bigs in the league. Uh, yeah, them really was my first memories of basketball. So them two when they was like the two powerhouses in the league, that's like the first thing I remember.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm a
But
little bit older, and I got into the game a little bit sooner than you. So my first memories of the game were, Kobe and Shaq with the three-peat, because
mm,
that was around 5, 6. Yeah, I was like 5, 6, and 7 those years when they won. And so, I'm coming to basically my birth into basketball for real is Kobe and Shaq are untouchable. Like you just that's the you ain't nobody messing with them. So that's what got me into being a Kobe fan. because Kobe was on top of the world. You feel me? Shaq was cool, but I'm a kid, bro. I'm not gonna be 7'1". My mind, I'm thinking 7'1", 7'2". So 6'6" seems a lot more realistic to me. Seeing
Yeah.
how I'm still not 6'6", I'm just like whatever. But he's a guard, so Kobe was way more attainable and relatable than a 7'1" mountain that could just pummel through everybody, man. So Kobe was my guy, man, and you know, uh, just knowing how the Spurs were so untouchable, especially in the before the 2010s, like the whole 2000 2010s, it was just like Lakers winning championship, Spurs winning championship. Every couple of years, somebody from the East, like the Pistons won in 1 year, in '04, the Heat won in '06, Celtics won in '08. Besides that, it was like Lakers and Spurs pretty much. Oh, this is what it feels like. I might be right on that, so or close to it. So it was just Spurs and Lakers for the Mavs won in 11. So it's like Spurs and Lakers just dominating the NBA pretty much in the early 2000s. So that's kind of what my beginning stages of basketball were, man. So when I think about how the game was growing up, bro, it's it's not like a whole world of difference between then and now, but there is a some big drastic changes, man. So for you personally, for you, you got about like a 10-year gap, a little bit more, but 10, 15 years. So from like '08 to 2010, 11, I think the last time they won,
Mm-hmm.
the Lakers had that little run. What do you see the changes were specifically from the game from '08, 2010s, early 2010s to now? Like overall the game, man, with the league and how stuff is. What do you see like the biggest changes are? Like top three, maybe.
Top three. Well, the obvious one is the 3-point shooting in the space, and like now, everybody got to be able to make a shot, at least standing still. If you can't make a shot, you got to be a lockdown defender, or like really big, like a big. So, and even the big sometimes got to be able to make a midi. So
Mm,
that's like the obvious one. Number two, I would say the big, like the back then, like we mentioned, it was them teams that was powerhouses. They all had dominant bigs. Like the Spurs had Tim Duncan, during their time. Lakers had Shaq and Kobe, so yeah, Shaq. And then when Shaq was gone, by the time when they got back around to being on top again, they had Andrew Bynum, who was who was in talks of being like he was a top 5 center in the league at the time,
mm-hmm.
and then Pau Gasol, top 5 power forward in the league at the time. So you could count either one of them, but you had to have a solid bid. And then the Celtics had KG, top 5 power forward in the league, probably number 2 behind Tim Duncan. Powell might have been number
Yeah.
3 behind KG. So it's funny that all three of those teams that was like running the early 2000s had a dominant bid. And then the Pistons snuck one in there, but they had Ben Wallace. The Mavericks snuck one in there. They had Dirk Nowitzki. You know, so back in them days, you had to have a dominant big. Like
Mm-hmm.
if you ain't have somebody that could control the paint, score in the paint, and defend the other team's big man, you probably wasn't gonna get very far. You wasn't gonna be a contender. So
Yeah.
them was like the biggest things. And then what would I say is the third biggest change? Third biggest change, I would say probably scoring point guards since them
Mm-hmm.
since then days. Like point guards wasn't scorers back then. They could score. They had the ability to score. Like if you could get to the rack, yeah, get to the rack, float it, whatever. You could do that. But now point guards is like scorers. Like you better guard, or they
Yeah.
will give you 30. Like there was scoring point guards existed back then, but there was few and far between. You had your Allen Iversons, you had your Gilbert Arenases, you had your let me think of another one. You had I
So
wouldn't need
Stephen Marbury,
yeah, Marbury. Yeah, you go Marbury.
Francis.
Yeah, Steve Francis is another one. Yeah, so but scoring point guards few and far between. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
In the early 2000s, or really the whole 2000s era was scoring
Yeah.
point guards was few and far between. it wasn't until like the D Roses of the world came along where we start seeing the uber athletic point guard that can get downhill, that could that might could dunk on you, stuff like that. And then you start seeing Derrick Rose and then John Wall and then Russell Westbrook, guys like that come along that could get downhill on anybody. And then, of course, Steph Curry came along, and now you got real scoring point guards. Like they can put it from deep. They ain't got to get to the rack. They can shoot it from anywhere. So then you get your Steph Currys, your Dame Lillards, your Trey Youngs. The game didn't have them back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
So those are probably the three biggest things I would say. Of course, the shooting and spacing of the game. The bigs of today is much different than the bigs of those days, and then the point guards. I feel like everything in between still kind of the same. You got scoring guards, you got facilitators, defenders, all that. So shooting guards, small forwards, power forwards, they kind of still doing the same things in different ways. They got to be able to shoot better, but they still playing similar roles. But point guards scoring now. You got to guard a
Mm-hmm.
point guard. Like you can't let him go crazy. He might point guards in the league almost on every team that could give you 30 on any given night. And then you got bigs who's stretching the floor, who's shooting, who might put it on the deck, all that. So I would say them are the three biggest changes from back in them days that I
Yeah,
see.
I got. Yeah, I gotta agree. I can't really. Yeah, I think with like you said with the bigs, man. Like back in the day, you had to have a twin towers. Like
Hmm.
you were doing something wrong if you didn't have 2 7-footers on the floor. Like you had to have a Pau Gasol and an Andrew Bottom, both like 7 foot 7'1". You had to have a
Hmm.
KG and a Perkins, both like Perk was like 6'10", 6'11", but KG 7 foot. You had to have because it kind of go back to how you were saying before, man. Like if you didn't have a guy who could score, you had to have somebody who could stop the guy who could score. And so, like you said, the dominant teams had the Tim Duncan as a scorer, but yeah, he played defense on the other end too. But you didn't want him so consumed with defense the whole time. So you would have he had so many centers like Oberto, Nazir Muhammad, uh, Kurt Thomas. He had so many other guys playing with him, but you have your focal guy like the superstar big, and you would have almost assistant role playing big. So you flip it around to where, let's say it's KG versus Dirt and KG versus Tim Duncan. You ain't finna have them going head to head the whole time. You finna have Kurt Thomas guarding KG, and you'll have Perk guarding Tim Duncan. So you have the twin towers kind of switching roles like that. So that's kind of how it was for me growing up. Then you had to
Hmm.
have like you said, the scoring guards. Like, it wasn't necessarily that the guards back in the day couldn't score, they weren't allowed to score because once again, you had to work inside out. So
Hmm.
yeah, he can shoot. That's cool. Shoot after he get his touch. If he ain't got a touch, then he kick it back out. Then you score. So the ball had to work inside out. So Tony Parker, for example, a great scoring guard. He could have put up 30 back in the day, but the way the system was set up with the game, he was only allowed to get 18, 22 points on average, but he had to have 6, 7 assists because the ball had to go through Tim Duncan's hands and David Robinson's hands back in the day. So yeah, you score your little points after they get their 20. So wherever the bread comes you get left at the table, that's what you get. So that's kind of how most point guards were back in the day. But the one change I will add that you didn't say is that the tweener became a thing. So back in the day, it was almost a curse mark for you to be an undefined role player. Like if we didn't know if we put you as a 2 or a 3. Do we put him as a 3 or a 4? So Draymond Green getting drafted where he was back in 2000, he would have been out the league in 2 seconds because we didn't know where to put him. Do we play him at the 3? Or do we play him at the 4? Like I don't know. He playing five ball today, so he definitely wouldn't have been fit back in. Like who he ain't guarding Shaq. So it's like, what are you doing here, bro?
Facts.
So it's like the tweener back then was a no go. Like that was a curse mark to where we didn't know what to put him as. Do we put him as a 3 or a 4? We'll try him out. It doesn't work. He's out the league. Get his contract up and he gone. So back in the day, it was a woof. You did not want to be labeled as a tweener. But now a tweener is a blessing, bro. You gotta have a tweener. Like you want to have a Draymond Green. Draymond Green is the foundation of a lot of guys following what we got now. Blessing.
Thank you.
But That's one thing I will add. A tweener became a huge part of the game. Um, I won't say Draymond caused it, but he played a big role into it. We talked about it before with another episode with Boris Diaw. I was like, God, man.
Boy, Dial. Well, it's tough, man.
So guys like him paved the way for Draymond Green to come through. That Boris Diaw was basically 6'8", 6'9". He was a small full power forward, but he handled the ball like he was a point guard. He basically ran the offense sometimes for the Spurs. So
Facts.
it's basically like, what do you like? He was a twin nigga, but nobody knew how to put him until he got with the Spurs for real, for real. And the Suns worked him in too. But the tweener was another big shift from back in the day to now that is totally different. That really left the impact on the game. So back in the day, it was a curse not to be a tweener. Now it's a blessing to have a tweener. So that's one more thing I wanted to add to what you were saying.
No, that's big. That's facts. I ain't think about that. Yeah, there was no such thing as a tweener back then. Like if you got stuck between two positions, and the worst thing that could happen is if you was getting stuck between two positions and they had somebody really good at one of them. So now it's
Yep.
like you better figure out how to be a three. Because like let's say Draymond Green get drafted to the Spurs in their time, and they got Tim Duncan, and they like, we don't know where to put him at three or the four, three or the four. Then they put him at the three because Tim Duncan at the four. You ain't finna replace Tim, like Tim the man. Then it's like, okay, we put
Mm-hmm.
him at the three. He can't handle the ball. He can't shoot. He can't be no three. All right, do we put him at the four? Move Tim to the five. Tim said he don't like playing the five. All right, well we ain't gonna worry about Draymond.
Yep.
Like, it's
Yep.
really bad. Like it was really bad. So you had to be a position. You had to be somebody. Like you was a point. You was a shooting guard. You was a small forward. Whatever you was gonna be, you better be that.
Yep.
Like you getting caught in between. You better be good. Like you better be good. Like you was right though. Board D out like crawl so Draymond can walk because
Yeah.
the Spurs. But they kind of in similar situations. Like the Spurs was a great fit for him in the way they play because they moved the ball. They everybody was gonna touch it. Everything they still trying to play through Tim, but everybody touched the ball. So that was a system that fit Boris. And
Mm-hmm.
then Draymond get drafted to the Warriors. He's surrounded by the best shooters in the league, and they spacing the floor. He a good facilitator, a good decision maker. That's the best spot for him. So they both just ended up in great situations for each other. But they really showed the league, like Boris Diaw and them at the time, kind of showed the league what could happen if you let a big, like even though he a quote unquote big, like he's not a guard at all. If he can handle the ball and make good decisions, he can make your offense better if you play with him the right way, if you use him the right way. So they
Yeah.
got, like I said, he kind of crawled so Draymond can walk. So you made an excellent point. I ain't think about that.
So mental toughness is one of the biggest things that I know pretty much every coach preaches to the players, and also one of the biggest factors in the players' game is the mental toughness. So I know that a lot of coaches wish their players would be mentally tougher, and they struggle with teaching them and understanding, what mental toughness is to apply it to the game. So to help you guys out, I wrote a whole ebook breaking down what mental toughness is, different factors that make up what mental toughness is, and different ways that you can apply it to your life and your game, because it's a good blend of the player and the person of how both sides of you can grow in your mental toughness. So I broke it down in the ebook, the Mental Toughness Playbook. The whole ebook is about 50 pages, a little less than 50 pages, easy to read, a simple breakdown of what mental toughness is, different factors and different areas in it that impact your mental toughness, and how you can grow and develop in there. So if you're interested in it, send the description below. So go ahead and look in hit that link and invest into yourself by investing into your mindset and mental toughness. Because I personally believe that um, your brain and your mind is so much powerful than you give it credit. So invest into your mindset, and then your body will follow afterwards. So the mental toughness playbook, get the ebook below. If you tune into it, thank you. I appreciate it. If not, it's fine. Get back to the rest of the episode. See you later. And I'm glad we brought up doors, because that made me think about another thing too. Is like the tweener was also a curse mark for guards, because you look at how AI's the perfect example. So
Facts.
guys basically labeled as 6 foot, maybe 6'1", but he's really like 5'10", 5'11". And so point guards back in the day will pass first. You run and set up the offense. You're the coach on the floor. You scoring 10 points, but you got to have 10 assists. So or you're a defensive guy or whatever. The John Stockton, the Andre Miller, the Eric Snows. You're a defensive guy. You scoring anywhere from 10 to 18 points because the bigs are going to have 20 to 30 points or whatever. Or you're going to be a great dynamic wing to be dropping points like the Kobe and Shaq duo.
Right.
But to be a tweener at that position was a curse mark too. So AI kind of broke through that mode where he was like, well, he's too small to be a two guard, but he's scoring too much to be a point guard. So we just kind of work around what he can do. Gilbert Arenas was, 6'3", 6'4". Yeah, he can't really play two guard. He ain't big enough for that, but the boy dropping 30 balls like it's nothing. So
Hmm.
we'll let him be a main ball handler. Well, D Wade can really score and shoot the ball, but he got a point guard size to him, but he scores like a two guard. So we'll try him at the one, but we're really gonna let him play two guard. Cause start off he played point guard, but they moved him to the two with whatever. And
Right.
so being a guard tweener was a terrible thing too. Switch between 4 and 5, that didn't matter. That was irrelevant. You didn't care at that point. But to be a three,
Hmm.
4, 2, 3, 1, 2, you better figure out something, bro, because anything else you getting thrown out of there. But then going back to Dial, after he left the Spurs, he went to the Suns. Made me think about the 7 seconds or less Suns that he played a part in too. So the small ball became a factor during that era because Mike D'Antoni was like, "We finna run." So that brought in Sean Marion, doing his thing, Amari Stoudemire, which also paved the way for more scoring guards, which paved the way for the small forwards being sent. I mean, power forwards and power forwards being centers because Amari Stoudemire was a 4, played more 5. Sean Marion was a 3, started playing 4, and Dial was a 3, 4. I still don't know what he really was, but he played 3, 4, 5 too, as well. So that kind of played a big role into the game we have now, man. And it kind of gets into like what I really want to talk about now is how each position has changed. And so I think for the centers, like you talked about earlier, the bigs change. And so like Shaq was the premier center. Like he was the pinnacle of what it was to be a center for me growing up, at least. Yao was cool. He was kind of up there too, but like Shaq was the godfather when he was the Mount Rushmore by himself of what you wanted to have of a center, because he
Facts.
was untouchable. Like it's Shaq, like he's up here, he's off screen. Then we start talking about other people down here, so it's like that's whatever. And so, but he changed the game so much, bro, that it's kind of blended into the next position of playing the four. But like I remember hearing, I think it was Dirk saying how he was designed to play a 4, I mean 5, because he's 7 foot. He was like, you know what, bro? I got this guy in Los Angeles that is big train, a big mountain. I don't want to have to go against him. So how about y'all play me at the 4 and I stretch outside and y'all have fun with that. Figure out somebody else to play the 5 because I'm not gonna deal with him every night. So Shaq bumped the 5 out, a lot of 5s out to play 4, and now 4s had to be a little more finesse because KG and Dirk and C Webb and She started playing more that position. And so
Right.
I think Shaq is the reason to blame for part of the blame for we got the game now, because we ain't got the bigs no more, but the bigs now can shoot because they didn't want to go against Shaq. So I think Shaq really revolutionized the game from the 5 down because he bully balled everybody out to playing the 5. So um, just what you think about that, man, as far as the evolution of the center from our generation to what it is now.
Nah, that's an excellent point. Cause like, I never thought about it before, but if I came in the league at that time, especially like KG, I feel like KG is a perfect example. KG coming to the league straight out of high school, he probably like 6'10", get drafted straight out of high school. He looked like me. He built like me, 6'10",
Yep.
skinny, long arms, all that. If I'm KG coming in the league and they talking about me playing the 5, and then I'm in the West, I'm like, well, you see, bro, some man down there in Los Angeles, like you said, some man down there in Los Angeles, he pretty big, and they got him playing the 5. And I don't think me and him need to play the same position.
Yep.
So, no, you're absolutely right though. Like Shaq probably, like I'm pretty sure KG just said that too. Like he didn't want to guard Shaq. Like he not trying to be battling with them boys like that all game. So you're
Yep.
probably right. And then if we think about it, since Shaquille O'Neal, so since the early 2000s, and like not counting today's, well, let's say it like this, since the early 2000s, when was the last great scoring back to the basket big? I ain't talking about a big that can handle the ball, that can shoot, and nothing like that. I'm talking about keep catching the ball on the block, back to the basket on the regular. So since like the Shaquille O'Neal, Tim Duncan time, when was last big like solid center that scored back to the basket consistently? I can't think of nothing either. Like and then the game that changed it now with like bigs can shoot and whatnot now. But like the guys who now let's think about the other way. Since Shaq, how many four men can shoot the ball, can spread the floor? You got Dirt, you got KG, you got Pau Gasol. Like you can like it's plenty bigs that can like stretch the floor now because it's
Yeah.
like I'm not dealing with that. And I'm sure they came into the league being able to shoot, but it's the
Mm-hmm.
fact that they came into the league finesse kind of guys, finesse players. And like not saying they ain't tough or nothing like that, because obviously KG is and all that. But like they were like finesse players on offense and stuff. Shooters could like get to their spots and jump. They not really back to the basket every play. This man Shaquille O'Neal like, nah, let me get the ball right here. Bump, bump, lay or
Yeah.
dunk. Like
Yeah.
folks don't want to deal with that, man. Like and I can attest to it because like I can go back to the basket in my game, and that's cool. But every now and then it'd be a guy 6'10", 6'11" walking in, and I'm like, well, when I catch this ball, I'm probably gonna face up.
Yeah.
Like, so I'm pretty sure there's plenty of bigs in the league that got guarded by Shaquille O'Neal and was like, yeah, this is probably a face up kind of night.
Yeah.
So you make a good point. Shaq might have like ruined the big man
He probably
unknowingly.
low key did. He probably low key did too. I'm just like, nah, bro, I'm good. But I'm glad you said that. When you said that it was more finesse, not that they was soft, but it's just more finesse.
Mm,
That's really when the Euro game started being implemented because Powell, Euro guy, Dirk, Euro guy. His brother, Powell's brother, Marcus all
Mark.
came in the game. Yeah, he was a Euro guy. And so you
Mm,
started seeing dribblings of Euro guys coming in at the bigger positions. And not to say they aren't physical, but they're known to be more skilled and more finesse. So the coach started seeing that, and it's like, oh, you guys can kind of stretch the floor. So we do more pick and pop. Louis Scola, we're going to do more pick and pops with you guys to where you don't have to roll because once again, we have Shaq and Kendrick Perkins down there that are just going to drop coverage and stay down there. Cool, we'll take advantage of it. We'll pick Steve Nash, come out this hit, flip it over, pick and pop, boom, go to work right there. So you work in high posts and short corners and stuff to where that stretched the game out too. So the bigs weren't able to just they weren't allowed to just be big and be in that block. Block to block was the dominant area for bigs. Dirk said, how about we stretch it out a little bit and we get out here. KG and Dirk was like, man, let me catch this ball short wing, and I just pinch post and I just bank board all day, catch it out the glass. You feel me? So I feel like the foreign game coming into it, you know, we'll be reminiscent if we didn't bring that into it too. We have to because 20 cool coach stuff back in the days, it was cool, but Dirk and Powell, KG and Timmy really brought it to another level. But the Euro game is really what add that next level of skill to the big man. Like they were skilled. Kim Olajuwon, he's the godfather of that, with ridiculous. But
right.
it brought to another level because he was still low post, but it brought to another level when the European guys came in too. So that really pushed the skill level of the big man to that next pinnacle to where now we have the Boogies and Joel Embiid's and Anthony Davis's and Jokers and stuff that are next level skill from what we had back then. But the influx of Euro guys coming in is really what pushed the skill level of the big men to the next level to where, yeah, you can't just roam around the block no more. You got to take a couple steps out and hit the high post, the pinch post, and the short corners now to add to the stretching of the game to where, yeah, Shaq, you look good down there by yourself, brother. I'm going to be a catch me at the elbow, bro. We'll see what you can do out here, man. So
Right.
that played a role into it too.
And you think about it, like Shaq, I think Another thing, like with the big man, like I mentioned earlier, Shaq kind of turned bigs into like, hey, either you can score or you can defend. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and so like that's where you get the Kendrick. Like you got your KG. Now give me Kendrick Perkins. Like Kendrick, you go guard that big dude, and I'll be out here making sure we get points. Because
Yep.
Perk ain't give you too many points unless he getting it out the getting it out the mud, dirty work type points. You got your
Yeah.
Tim Duncan playing the four. All right, give me Nazir Muhammad coming in here. You play this five. Make sure you feel me. The other big don't get off. You got Pau Gasol. All right, Pau out here. He floating around. He can shoot. He picking and popping. Cool. Bynum, I need you down here. I need you to mix it up with these big boys. You know what I'm saying? Like that ain't they role. That ain't what they here for. Can they do it? Probably, but we don't want them to do it all game. So it's like, hey, you get down there, mix it up with him. I got Dirk out here flowing, shooting, fading away. Cool. Let me get Tyson Chandler. Get down here, mix it up with these big fellas. I ain't trying to do
Mm-hmm.
that.
Yep.
So that's kind of Shaq kind of changed the game into that. Like, okay, well, we gonna put our score at the four, even though he might be five size or built like a five. He a scorer, so we're gonna put him at the four, and we're gonna get a big that can defend at the five. So
Yeah.
Tyson Chandler going into the game like, shoot, hey, I know I got to guard the biggest guy. Bynum going into the game like, hey, I know I got to guard Dwight Howard. You know what I'm saying? So like, it's one of them things, and so that kind of solidified it even more. It was like, shoot, Dirk say he want to score, we got to get a big in that's going to defend. Tim, we
Yep.
want him to be able to score. We need to get a big in that can defend. So that's kind of where it is now. And we see that now, even today. If you can't score as a big, you're a defender. Like the other big better not score. Them your
Mm-hmm.
only two options. Either you score or he don't score. That's all it is. And if one of the two don't happen, you're not gonna play very long. You won't be in the league very long. So that's kind of
That's
where it
true.
is now.
Yeah. And like you asked the question of who since Shaq was a great low post scorer. Brooke Lopez is probably the last of that dying breed who was just a great low. He came into the game a low post scorer. Like
Yeah.
he was arguably the best low post scorer, period. Like nobody else had the skill that he had. But if you ask the 16-year-old now think about Brooke Lopez, oh, he's a really good shooter. You ask the 16-year-old me, Brooke Lopez is a great low post scorer. Ain't no shooting threes because you 7'1", 240. Man, you don't get your butt on that block and start going to work. Like what you doing at 3-point line, bro. So that's another thing that changed too. And Andrew Bynum, he's probably the bigger name, but he could do his thing down low post. But that's
Yeah,
probably the
he
last
could.
two I could think about. Yeah, that's probably the last two that I could think. I had to sit down and think about it. I thought about the White, but he wasn't an offense threat like that. He ain't had no low post game. His was put
He
back
was more,
rebounds and pick
yeah,
and
more
roll.
pick and roll. Yeah, there. Yeah. He wasn't really catching it on the block, going to work type stuff.
Yeah, if he did, it was a jump hook that he was
Oh,
really just jumping over people. It wasn't like no skill work. It was just and jump over you quick as possible. So no offense to the White, but watch the film.
hey,
You know,
watch the film. That's the best way to put it.
but yeah, yeah, like you said, man, it was a game of enforcer. So you either had the skill big who could score, or a physical enforcer down low who would stop you from scoring. So I think it's kind of what the big has was back in the day, man. That's pretty much. You got anything else you want to add for the bigs? I want to do centers, but we pretty much did centers and power forwards together, man. So anything
Yeah.
else you want to add to the bigs?
Nah, I think that pretty much sums it up, man. Shaquille O'Neal killed the big man. You heard it here first.
Yep, blame everybody can blame Shaq. He obliterated, bigs being big. So Shaq's fault.
Hey, hashtag blame Shaq. Get it trending.
Hey, shout out to Katie.
Shout
Um,
out to KD.
but yeah, man. So Shaq is the reason why we started seeing the C Webs and Rasheed Wallace's and Powell's, KG, Timmy's, and Dirks playing fours instead of fives, man. Um, so yeah, he pretty much killed the twin tower theories and all that stuff, man. So that's the evolution of the big man. So now to get to the wing play, man, the small forwards. We'll probably get into the shooting guards too, because that was kind of the tweener thing back then too, man. But
Mm,
um, so from back then to now, man, what you see from the wing play of the threes, primary threes if you can, just limit the threes, but twos and threes or whatever.
Um, the three spot is kind of a different position. I feel like because I feel like in basketball to be labeled a small forward can mean a lot of things. Like a small forward can go many different directions because you're like the man in the middle. You know what I mean? It's like you might be a scorer, like even back in the old days, like you might be a Larry Bird, you might be a Dr. J, you might be a small, a small forward that's a scorer, somebody that they depend on the score. Then again, you could be a small forward that they just like, hey, we want you to defend. Like you might be a lockdown defender. Like you could be a Ron Artest. You could be a Tyreek Evans. Too. Like you could be a lot of different things as a small forward. Some people depend on a small forward to facilitate a little bit. You know what I mean? So it can go a lot of different directions in that position. But I think the main difference between then and now is the small forward position is asked to facilitate a lot more often now. Like back then, I don't think like back in the early 2000s, I don't think small forwards had the ball in their hand as much, nearly as much, because you had point guards or you had scoring shooting guards or somebody. So the small forward wasn't really expected to handle it. You know what I'm saying? That's why you
Mm-hmm.
got guys like the Boris Diaws that was like, do we put him at the 3 or the 4? Because it's like we really don't want him handling the ball like that, but he can handle the ball. So it's like,
Mm-hmm.
what position do we put him at? But so I think that kind of comes in with more due to LeBron James, obviously, because LeBron coming to the league and it's like, hey, just give that young man the ball, he'll figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's a 3, but he'll figure it out. But at the same time, the small forward, like I said, the small forwards can go either way because even at that time, Melo came in the league same time LeBron, he a scorer. You had guys like Hito Turkoglu, that was a scorer.
He
You
do.
Yeah, Hito, man. We talked about it. Hito, big Hito Turkoglu fan. Yeah, Hito Turkoglu who could score. You had trying to think of another one. Like there was wings that scored the ball back in the early 2000s. And then LeBron, I felt like LeBron was one of the few that was like, or one of the first that was like, hey man, just let him run the offense. Like
Mm-hmm.
one of the first true point forwards. Like uh even with like Magic Johnson, excuse me, back in the day, Magic Johnson saying hi to LeBron, but they put him at the 1. And
Mm-hmm.
I didn't watch plenty of documentaries and stuff, but they was talking about it like this guy the same height as our power forward. Like we want to put him at point guard. They never even considered him being like a point forward, like put him at the 3 and just let him handle the ball and nothing like that. It was like, nah, he got to play point guard. And so, but now we got guys like LeBron that was like, shoot, he not at point guard because technically we got a point guard out there. We got Eric Snow out there. He a point guard. We got Mario Chalmers out there. He a point guard.
Mm-hmm.
But we gonna let LeBron run the offense. Every now and then we gonna let Eric
Mm-hmm.
Snow run it too. Like Bron ain't running it 24/7, but we know he can pass. We know he got great IQ. We gonna let him handle the ball. So, and he probably our best decision maker. So I think Bron was like the first real point forward, and now we kind of see the LeBron effect of like guys handling the ball at that 3 spot. Because not soon after Bron was Tyreek Evans, and you remember people was thinking Tyreek Evans was like baby LeBron, and
Mm-hmm.
that ended pretty quickly. Like that did not pan out. Then you had guys like you start seeing guys like Michael Carter Williams that was like tall point guards. He didn't pan out. You start seeing guys like Ben Simmons coming to the league. Now you see
Mm-hmm.
tall point guard. But I really consider that like the LeBron effect because like because you would think it might have been like some might say no, Magic Johnson was the first tall point guard. That's true, but they was putting him at point guard. He played point. Like there was no other point guard on the floor. Guys like Bron and there was out there. The point guard was out there. They just gave it to Bron.
Mm-hmm.
Like let him run the offense. So I think that's probably like the biggest change in that small forward spot. Solely that small forward spot. The small forward running the offense, and we all right with that.
Yeah, like I think growing up for us in our generation, I just wrote it down to make sure. So you either had to do you only had three type of wing guys growing up. So you either had, I hate to say it like this, but the most dumbed down position of a wing, you were a 3-and-D guy. So you were like
Mm,
a Bruce Bowen type of guy, or runner our test later on in his career. Um, that's all I can think about right now. But mainly like a Bruce Bowen was the primary thought of what a three would be. You would lock down whoever the star wing is, and you would shoot corner threes on the other end. That's it. Or you had more of a Sean Marion type of guy, Andre Iguodala, who was like, well, let's start. You might have started off as more of an Andre Iguodala type, who was just super athletic, and you just go do whatever, and you would out athleticize your competition, and you kind of morph later into being one of those other guys. So you either be so Andre Iguodala would have either pushed to be more of a Bruce Bowen, a 3-and-D guy, or he'll push into being more of a Scottie Pippen, where he's a little bit of a do it all guy. So he would be a Swiss Army knife for Sean Marion, who would do a little bit of everything. Like he was a tweener, but a good tweener, to where he would score a little bit, he could rebound a little bit, assist a little bit. He wasn't necessarily a playmaker. So like you had a point guard who you'd be a primary playmaker, but you could bring a backup point guard in like a Leandro Barbosa, who was primarily scoring, and you could count on him to be a facilitator. So he'd be a backup point guard like a Boris Diaw would be, or Hedo Turkoglu, to where Jameer Nelson was obviously the point guard, but when you brought in your backup point, whoever you had at the time, you would count on Hedo to kind of play supplemental point guard to still get the offense flowing and get everybody involved. And so
right.
Steve Nash takes it on the bench. Sean Marion still keep the offense flowing, and Boris Diaw keep the offense flowing. And so you either had your 3-and-D guy, your do-it-all guy who would kind of be a Swiss Army knife. That was a huge term back in the day, a Swiss Army knife of a wing. Or you had a superstar wing, which is your T-Max, who would be a 2-and-3. Your Vince
Mm,
Carter's, who would be a 2-and-3. So you either had one of those type of threes back in the day. And now you still have that, but if you're a 3-and-D guy at the wing, you're leaking pretty bad. You have to be able to put the ball on the floor and score. You have to be a lockdown defender and a scorer, like an Andrew Wiggins now, the way you can handle the ball and do a little bit more now.
right.
So, um, kind of how you said earlier, like it was a more clear defined point guard, shooting guard, small forward, power forward, center, and you kind of had some blurred lines between some players and some teams or whatever. But nowadays, it's just like you kind of blur between 1, 2, and 3, 3, 4, 5. Draymond Green, so you have a lot more blurry lines between positions. So I think the small forward is I think small forward and shooting guard for the most part are the least revolutionized positions we've had in this era.
Mm,
It's kind of like from the early 2000s to now, we still kind of have the same thing for the most part. Like
yeah.
ain't too much change between the positions, but back in the day, you really had a 3-and-D guy, you had a do it all guy, or he was the guy. So that's the three main things you saw from the wings. A little bit of two guard too, but that's primarily what you saw from the wings. So you had your Bruce Bowen, lock down Kobe, go on the other end, stay in the corner and shoot. And you had your Sean Marions, who would do a little bit of everything. So he'd defend a little bit, shoot a little bit. Whatever you need for this game, I got you. That's what we're looking. You the X factor. Your wing was your huge X factor back in the day, or he was your T Mac. He would literally be carrying the team on his back. So I feel like for me that's what you had back in the day, man. Um, like I said, to now your wing is your like so Boris Diaw wouldn't be the backup, he would be the actual facilitator now. So yeah, you might have another point guard on the floor, but just as easy that Steph Curry can run the offense, Draymond runs the offense too. So you would have Steve Nash and Sean and Boris being your point guards now. So that's the biggest difference we saw from then to now in these past 20 years, man. But I think that's the biggest key that you went from those three defined positions of the wing to where you amplify having a little more. Basically, you have three positions, but sprinkle in more skill. That's basically what it is now, and that's kind of how I see the changes or the slight change that we had from back in the day to now.
Yeah, I definitely see that. Like that. It's funny you said that. That Swiss Army knife burner was big back in the day. Like that was like a thing. This guy's a Swiss Army knife. He could pass. He could shoot. He could dribble. Like, but now that's like a basketball player.
Yep.
If
Everybody.
you could, yeah, if you could pass, shoot, dribble, you're a good basketball player. You're no longer a Swiss Army knife. So that's funny. But yeah, I definitely agree with that. Like them three like roles was definitely like the wave back then for the wings. Now I feel like wings are more facilitators. Yeah, you see more facilitators now at the wing spots, not just 3 and D guys. Like you said, if you're a 3 and D guy now at the three, you like that's not really what we're looking for a lot of times, unless you got like a Kobe, Bradley Beal like type of scorer.
Yeah.
Because like when I think about 3 and D guys at the three, I think like Jay Crowder. I give you Jay Crowder. He's still a three
PJ
and D guy.
Tucker.
PJ Tucker, but a lot of people putting PJ Tucker as a four now, like four, sometimes five. Like if they going small.
He
Yeah,
a
I
three
know.
four man. I don't think man 6'6", bro. That's a 3 and D guy to win, bro. Stop GMs and coaches. Please stop putting PJ Tucker at 6'6". I think he really like 6'4", to be real with you. He from 6'6" to 6'4". Stop putting him at the five. Stop.
Man.
Just stop it, bro. Put
when
that
they
man to
played
win.
when they played the Nets in the final, not the finals, the playoffs, and he was guarding KD. This man was guard KD. KD towering over this man. I'm talking about he was. It was one of the things like PJ Tucker putting his head on his chest like this, guarding him, and KD standing up straight head like right here. Like PJ bent down, but like PJ Tucker head almost like at this, like his head at this man's chest, and KD just waiting
Mm-hmm.
on the inbound the ball so he can go get it and cook this dude. Like, no offense to PJ Tucker,
Yeah, no
but
offense.
yeah, I think of guys like that, Jay Crowder, PJ Tucker. You can say Jimmy Butler, but Jimmy Butler is the guy. Like he a defender, but he can score too. He the guy.
Yeah.
It's more guys at that three spot now than I feel like it was back in the day. Like
Mm-hmm.
the guys at the three: LeBron, KD, Jimmy Butler. Shoot, I could really say Anthony Edwards. He a 2-3 guy. He go in between stuff like that. So I feel like the three man is one of them guys that's like it's funny because like the three can be anything. He could be the best
Yeah.
player. He could be the best defender. He could be the best passer. He could be a lot of things at that three spot. So it's just like you got to see which one you got at the end of the day. You know what I'm saying? It's funny,
Yeah.
but that is the
Yeah.
biggest evolution at that spot, though.
Yeah. Like it ain't changed too much, but I think it's interesting to see how like for the past maybe 10 years, maybe like the whoever when we have a discussion of the best player in the game, the top 5 in the game, the 3 names that has come up is usually one of those position or three names that'll come up from that position. LeBron, KD, and Kawhi. Like
Okay.
the small forward was really running the NBA to be real for real. Maybe 5 years, maybe. I'm kind of stretching it, but
So you pushing 6, 7, really? You ask me,
yeah.
because
So maybe a
seven
little
years
more,
ago
but
was 2015. LeBron no more
yeah,
playing. LeBron still in Cleveland. And then 20, that's when they started having their finals runs with the Warriors. But Kawhi and them had just won in 2014. So
yeah,
yeah, Kawhi went in 2014. Then Cleveland went to the finals and lost. But that's when Kyrie and Kevin Love were hurt. And then Braun won. Then KD went to the Warriors. It was KD the next 2 years. And then Kawhi
hmm
got another one. So yeah, you about right. Like it really pushing 6, 7 that the three man has been running the league. And then Giannis like a 4, 3, 4. Like they count him as a
yeah,
4 now. But when he came to the league, he was kind of like at the 3. So if you count Giannis, that's even more now. So
yeah. I didn't think about Giannis, but yeah, like the small forward is really been running the league. Like, of course, Steph Curry he's the best player in the game too. Of course, you
yeah.
can throw in James Harden had a couple years, Westbrook had a couple years, but
Mm.
primarily at far as positions, the small forwards running the NBA. The point guard's cool, but Steph Curry's pretty much had the position locked down for the past 10 years. Let's just say, like I love Kyrie, love Dan. You know I'm a Dan guy. I love Westbrook, but he's been running the point guard position. Like when we talk about best players in the game, the only guard who's been mentioned is Steph Curry. Like you might have a year Westbrook was mentioned, you might have a year James Harden was mentioned, but Steph Curry, especially when healthy, night in, night out, is in that conversation. Biggs.
Mhm.
Dwight was in the running back, a long time ago. After that, we had Anthony Davis. He's always been. Don't get me started. I love Anthony Davis, but that man's never been a top 5 player since he's been in the league. I love him, but stop putting him in that discussion. Like talent, yes. Player, no. He just couldn't stay healthy to follow through on that. But anyway,
That's
yeah,
fair.
Anthony Davis, Joel Embiid, Boogie for a second before injuries messed him up. But like you could have a conversation around other people being the best player in the game. People throwing Joker in that conversation now, but consistently for the past arguably 10 years, it's been a small forward position thanks to LeBron, KD, Kawhi, and now Giannis is taking over that lead. So
Mhm.
small forward, we ain't celebrated as much, but it's been running the game for the past 10 years, bro, or close to it, man. So
Facts.
mm,
Like, but that's part of what we said. Like, you either the guy or you a guy at that 3 spot, and
yeah.
like, I feel like there's no in between. You either LeBron or you Jeff Green. You either KD or you either
Oh, you
KD
Draymond.
or you Draymond. You either Kawhi or you Duncan Robinson. You know.
Yeah.
And so that
Yeah.
that's just the spot that it is now. Like you either the
Yep.
guy or you a guy. And so that's why we got like, shoot, if you want to be real, you can make an argument that we that ain't what the episode about. But you can make an argument that 5 of the 10 best players in the league are small forwards. If you count Giannis as a small forward, you got Giannis, LeBron, KD, Kawhi, Jimmy Butler. So you could make a solid argument that that 5 of the 10 best players in the league play the 3 spot.
Yep.
So, and you probably could not make that argument for no other position. You got Jokic and Embiid that's in the center spots that could be in top 10. You got Steph that could be top 10 or is top 10 for point guards. Shooting guards, you could go James Harden. Not really James Harden right now, but there was a time James Harden. And then who else? Like, who else would you throw top 10? I haven't looked at the list enough to know right now.
I
But
think the only position that could be in that conversation is point guard. That you come close to, because you
yeah,
got
true.
Steph. If we talking about like not right now, maybe right now too, but Steph, Dame, Kyrie,
Kyrie, James Harden, if you count him at a point guard
yeah,
spot.
James Harden, maybe. It depends on the position you want to call him at. Luca, I can't forget about Luca,
Yeah, Luca. Yeah.
and then
Sure.
maybe Ja, maybe Ja,
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, point guards are the only spot competing to be like the best
yeah,
position in the league. And so, if we want to take it even deeper, people count Paul George as a shooting guard now because he's playing with Kawhi Leonard. But when Paul George was still at OKC and the MVP running, that would have been another small forward running the game. So
yeah,
that would have been 6, like, because he was an MVP running. So clearly he's top 10 in the league, at least at that time. So you talking about 3 years ago. Now you're talking about a 6th small forward, top 10. And
Jason
but
Tatum too. Forgot about him.
Jason Tatum, shoot, that's 7. That's 7 small forward. So yeah, so, like the cream of the crop right now is the small forward spot and the point guard spot right behind them.
Yeah,
And I don't know if we could have said that 10, 15 years ago. I think shooting guards and bigs was running the league
mm-hmm.
15, 20 years ago. Shooting guards and bigs. Your Kobe's, your AIs, your T Max, your Vince Carters, your Shaqs, your Dwight Howards, your Andrew Bynums, the
Yep,
Pau Gasols, the KGs. Them guys was running the league. They were
yep,
the guys. Like there was no small forwards running the league at the time. And
yeah,
then here come 2003. This young man named LeBron James and another young man named Carmelo Anthony walk into the league. And it's like, shoot. Like, these guys play the 3. We got to get somebody in
yeah,
here that can guard them.
yep, yep.
So, Yeah, that's funny. I never thought about that. The small forwards are running the league.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy, but yeah, man, that's the biggest evolution in the small forward spot. There we go.
Yeah. So now to push to the two guards, man. Wait, wait, hold on. Time out. Hold on real quick. I just got a quick question for you. All right, okay, look. So where did you go? Like, what are you going after right now in your life? Right? Are you looking to make the team? Okay, you didn't make the team, but you're looking to figure out how to make the team coming up. Or maybe you made the team, but you're on the bench, you're not playing like you want to. Or maybe you're playing a little bit like you want to, but you're not a starter, or you're not finishing the games like you want to. Or maybe you're the player, but you're just not quite where you want to be as far as recognizing your county or maybe your conference or your state, whatever you're trying to be recognized at. Um, Whatever your goal is, I want you to forget about that. Like put it on the board or something, write it down in your phone and just put it somewhere and tuck it away. I want you to take that goal, throw it over there, and now I want you to write a new one, right? I want you to write PROGRESS. Progress. I want you to make progress your goal. Okay. So take that big goal that you have now and take it, put it in your back pocket, and just figure out how to make progress and work towards that goal. Because sometimes we get so caught up on the goal of the end goal where we want to be that we don't keep working forward and working towards that goal like we should be. So every day I want you to wake up and figure out how to just make progress. How can I be better today than I was yesterday? It's what you do tomorrow. The same exact thing. Figure out how can I be better today than I was yesterday. It doesn't matter how good you are or what you did yesterday. It's irrelevant. It doesn't matter. Your goal today is to make progress be better than you was yesterday. And so if you need a reminder about that, all I want you to do is to have a reminder. I want you to go ahead and get one of these hoodies. Or you get you a t-shirt. I got a couple options for you. So get you a hoodie or a t-shirt just to remind yourself, just to keep it as a memento to be like, man, today's goal is to make progress. My only goal is to make progress. Progress is the only goal. So if that fits you and you feel like you need to make progress to be your goal, go ahead and hit the link in the description below and invest into yourself. Invest into that reminder. Treat it like an alarm clock to remind you that you need to make progress. Make sure that you're focused and being intentional about the work that you had today. So progress is the only goal. Hit the description below to invest into yourself. It's not about me. Investing into yourself to remind yourself that progress is my goal for today. So that's enough for me, man. I hope I didn't interrupt you. Get back to the episode. I think this position has this might be a hot take, man. I thought about doing this for the don't kill me, but I'm gonna just do it right here.
Okay.
I think the two guard has been the least great position in the history of the game.
Least
When I
great.
yes, let me explain. I'm explain.
I'm
So
just,
we kind of touched on this before, and that's what made me think about this. So when you listing the top, players of all time, right? We did this with the Kobe episode, I think. When you talked about Kobe, I don't remember what episode, but we made me think about it. So you listing positions, right? You got Magic, Isaiah, CP3, Steph. Depending on what you call Steph, whatever, don't really matter. But Steph, John Stockton, Big O, whatever. Westbrook, point guards. Small forwards, you got Dr. J, Larry Bird, Pip, Bron, KD. You can run off that list. Power forwards, KG, Timmy, Chuck, Karl Malone, Dirk. Run off that list. Fives, you got Shaq, Wilt, Kareem, Bill, Hakeem, David Robinson, Patrick Ewing. That you can run off that list. When you go two guards, Jordan, Kobe, D Wade, drop.
Allen Iverson. We count AI.
Maybe.
I
Okay,
get
you
he
could
ain't get no ring or
fine.
nothing, but
Okay, cool. Throw AI in there. Drop.
I'm trying to think. Give me a second. Actually, you said Mike, Kobe, D Wade.
That's the obvious top three. That's the most obvious top three.
Yeah.
Depending on what you call AI, depends on that's a conversation to be had. But if let's say you throw AI to two, cool. Who's next? James Harden, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, James Harden, but it started getting real. Like you see how you got to think about it. It's a very tough thing to do. So I feel like the two guard is the I forgot what I said, but like the least talented
Accomplished.
position, most accomplished or most talented position in the league. Because like when you start talking, or the least great position, when you start rattling off of the who's who of the NBA of all time, Jerry West, cool, but you're not putting him above a lot of guys. We talk about the all time. Like you can
Mm.
argue five of each position being the best players of the league, like Steph Curry running the game. Like he can argue of you can have a legit conversation of who's who with other positions. The shooting guard position is kind of like, mm, it's Jordan, Kobe, D Wade. Depending on what you call AI and Harden, you can throw them in that conversation too. But it's a drop off. I love AI. I love him. That's my guy. If you know me, y'all rock with AI. AI was a revolution. We talked about it with the hoop culture episode.
Mm.
But it's a slight drop off when you talk about you know anybody after him. Like Harden, I love Harden, but is he really in that conversation? I see it on Twitter all the time. Man, Harden, the third best shooting guard in the game. Stop it. I love James Harden, but he's not better than D Wade. Stop it. Let's stop that now. So it's a drop off for me, man. And let's say you do throw them in there. It's those five. Jerry West, like him, but no, I love Jerry West. I don't want him to come and try to kill me or nothing, bro. But it's tough for me to really see the shooting guard being as stacked as other positions. Because T Mac, what do you call him? Two or three? Let's say you throw him into two. Are you
That's still a
taking
big
him
drop
top
off.
10? It's still, you know what I mean? Like, I love T Mac, bro. But he didn't. He was a potential. He was a what if. He didn't fully fulfill what he could have been. So I'm just like, what do we? So that's kind of my hot take, man. I feel like the two guard is the least loaded position. I can't find the right word, but it's like like it's just the drop off when you're talking about the all time greats, man. So I love the two guard. I love Reggie, but it's like it's a drop off, man. Like you got the top three, a slight drop off. The top five, maybe six, another drop off. But every other position is just like boom, 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 boom. Now you got to drop off. Boom, 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 boom. So like two guards, just like
but that's accurate though. It's like Mike, Kobe, Wade, James Harden.
you got to think hard about it,
Yeah,
man. Like I gotta
because
man, but let me pull up NBA.com or basketball reference or something because I gotta sit here and think about it, bro. Like, so that's why I feel like the two guard isn't as it's not it's no shade to who is at the top. I'm not saying that, but it's like the depth of that's what I'm trying to say. It's not as much depth as the two guard as the other positions. Point guard, you can easily have you can it's a real strong fight between who's the Mount Rushmore of point guards, the Mount Rushmore of small forwards, Mount Rushmore of power forwards and center. It's a very good fight between all those other positions. Two guards, one, two, and three. The hard part is the four and the five. Everybody knows it's Jordan, Kobe, D Wade. No conversation to be had there. AI, maybe. What position you want to call him at? Jerry West, okay, cool. James Harden, where you want to call him at? But T Mac, you can throw him in the conversation, but it's still a drop off. Vince Carter, cool, but that's a big drop off from him and Kobe. D Wade, it's a gap, man. So um, I'm done for somebody to try to kill me, bro. But I just feel like the two guard in the history of the game is the probably the least has the least depth as far as all time greatness goes.
that's a solid point, but like you done made a case here today because I'm sure thinking about it, like now like it's because the first time I started thinking about I was like, okay, how many shooting guards have won Finals MVP? And I really can't think of none outside of D Wade, Kobe, and Jordan. Like no other shooting guard in recent history, at least. Cause it ain't like I remember every single one. But no other shooting guard in recent history won a Finals MVP because Jordan dominated the '90s. The 2 years he wasn't in there, it was Hakeem Olajuwon won. Then after he left, it was
Mm-hmm.
Shaq and Kobe. But Shaq won them, and then Kobe was in there. After them, it was Tim Duncan, Chauncey Billups, and them won 2004. So Chauncey Billups was point guard. So it was Chauncey Billups point guard, then Tim Duncan, and then uh the Lakers Celtics went back and forth. So that was Kobe's, and then Paul Pierce won it for the Celtics, and
Yeah,
then
Dirk.
Dirk was in there. Yeah, Dirk a bit. Then LeBron. for 2 years.
LeBron.
Then Kawhi, and then they've been running off with them boys ever since. Man, hey, you got it, man. You got a case. You got a case. So
So I know if we asked a couple other people, especially the old head, they had something to say about Jerry West. I'm not trying to be disrespectful to the old generation at all,
right,
but even if you throw Jerry West in there, he still does not change my case as far as saying there's a huge drop off once you get past the cream. It's the cream of the crop for each position. The cream getting pretty thick when we talking about point guards. There's a good conversation to be had as far as the top 5 or Mount Rushmore point guards. It's like 6, 7 guys you have in that conversation. You talk about small forwards. It's about 6, 7 guys you have in that conversation. Power forwards, same thing. Centers, same thing. So like if you ask, you know, 10 guys in the NBA right now to list your top 5 all time in each position, the guaranteed top 3, we automatically know the top 3: Jordan, Kobe, D Wade when it comes to shooting guards. Now for the other position, you're gonna have one person that's probably through everybody's guaranteed, like Magic's probably in everybody's guaranteed point guards or whoever. Small forwards, you're gonna have a LeBron, Pippen, and Larry Bird. You're gonna have at least one of those 3 in everybody's top 5. Shoot, they should be in everybody's top 5. All 3 of them should be. You think
right,
about power forwards, Tim Duncan should be in that conversation somewhere, and the KG and Dirk are going to be in that conversation. You're gonna have a Shaq, you're gonna have Kareem, Wilt, Dream. You can mix and match how you want to do the 5s, but you're gonna have a guaranteed Shaq and Kareem on that list of your top 5.
facts.
Now, when it comes to the shooting guards, them top 3, the last 2 is I guarantee if you ask 10 NBA players, you'll probably get a different last 2 for 5 of them. So half of them will have the same guys, but it's going to be different people for each one of them. Well, I might throw T-Mac in there because he's probably the next best thing you saw in the wing position behind Kobe. Okay, cool. I throw AI in there because he was a 2. Okay, cool. Older head might say Jerry West. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
You might throw
it
James
ain't no
Harden in there.
solidified.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But it's like it's a core rotation of guys you're gonna have at other position. Besides the 2 guards, just like it's a drop off. So that's all I gotta say about. Well, it's most I gotta say about the 2 guard, man. But that's my little hot take, man. I kind of spoiled it for another episode. I might clip this whole thing and just put that as the episode. But whatever.
Hey, no, hey, boy, it was solid though. You made a solid point. But I would say being back on top, I would say shooting guard spot is the least changed spot. You got 2 types of
Yeah.
shooting guards: scores, 3 and D. Them only types. Either you a Kobe or you a Tyler Hero. You know what I'm saying? Well, Tyler Hero kind of a scorer, but either you a Bradley Beal or you a Tony Allen. You know,
Yeah.
so I feel like it had much change with that position because it don't need to. It's a shooting guard for a reason. It's labeled there for a reason. So you either a scorer or you a defender or 3 and D. You got to be able to shoot though. Can't be a shooting guard.
Yeah.
Can't shoot. It's in the name. But
Unless you're Tony Allen.
unless you Tony Allen. Tony Allen was probably the only one I can really think of that couldn't shoot at all. But he had to play the
Yeah.
2. But they really just had him out there like, hey, you guard whichever one of these boys could score the best.
Yep.
So yeah, you got your Tony Allens. But yeah, I haven't much really changed with that spot. Maybe that's why what you said is going on. Like they at least accomplished because not much has changed. Ain't much gotta change. It's like, hey, either you can
Mhm.
score or you can defend. So then you got the best scores. You got your Mike, D Wade, Kobe. And then after that, you got your James Harden, your AIs, your T Max that can score, but on a little bit lesser tier than them 3. So now it's like separating them a good bit. But
Mhm.
that still hadn't much change. Scores, 3 and D. That's all you got at that 2 spot.
I feel like the only thing I probably would add is your shooters, and I think that's also what hasn't changed because you got 90s, you had your Reggie Millers, um, Yukon boys. You think about Ben Gordon, Rip Hamilton. You come off basically the Klay Thompsons. The Klay Thompson could fit from now to the 90s. You could have a Duncan Robinson fit from now to the 90s. You're gonna have him run off screens and all that kind of stuff. It hasn't changed since the 80s and 90s, really. So
Mm-hmm.
that's why I feel like that's the least progressed position that we've had. The only difference I say we had is that either those guys like a Klay Thompson who would handle the ball a little bit more. That's pretty much it. The guys who like a Bradley Beal morphed into being who he is now, more of a scorer. Because coming into the draft, he was supposed to be a Ray Allen type. He come off the screens, he's a shooter, like beautiful form, all the good stuff they were saying about him. I remember coming to the league. Now the boy a bucket. Like he a 30 walking 30 ball and shoot. He's leading scorer. I think 2 years in a row. I think he had like 34 and 35. So he's a bucket, bro. But it's not too many other people that you look at. It's just like, it's not too many other roles you see in the shooting guard position. It's you're a scorer, you're a Kobe, you're a shooter, you're a Rip Hamilton, Reggie Miller, Ray Allen type, Klay Thompson, or you're a defender. You're a Tony Allen. Yeah, you're Tony Allen. So you're a scorer.
Yeah, you're Tony Allen. If you can't shoot, you're Tony Allen.
Yeah, I don't think people give Tony Allen his flowers, bro. Because you think about certain like that type of shooting guard. Like I can't name any. Maybe it's my fault just not being absent-minded right now, but I can't think of anybody else on Tony Allen's level of being a shooting guard who is really the defender, like the guy.
Bruce Bowen.
He was a 3.
Yeah, technically, yeah. So you can't say Ron Artest neither. Then you might be right. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, because you remember when Draymond Green was like, "I really think I'm the best defender in NBA history," or whatever, and Tony Allen was like, "All right, bro." Tony Allen entered the chat, but I ain't never heard nobody say nothing Tony Allen said on social media nothing till that day. This man Draymond Green came out and said he was the best defender ever. Tony Allen was like, wait a minute. Boy, I ain't even got social media till this day.
Time out. You know my Tony Allen. I'm first team all defense, bro. Like this playing, bro. This man most viral clip is him diving on the floor for a loose ball, saying first team all defense.
And that started something because people start saying that to him. Like you like supposed to like be like the first team all defense. Like dudes ain't playing for no team. This in the rec. Talking about first team all defense. Tony Allen started that. That's culture now. Like he started something in the culture. So
see what I'm saying, man? Like Tony, we don't put up respect on Tony Allen's name, man. Put some respect on Tony Allen's name, bro. That's it.
Hey, no, you're right though. You're right. He is like the defender. Like at least in our generation. I feel like in the 90s, 80s generation, when they think about the defender, I think they think Scottie Pippen, Dennis Rodman. Because like them was like the guys. But now today, Gary Payton kind of in that late 90s era, yeah. But then when you get to like our era, like the 2000s, 2010s, the best defenders were wings. And so that's where Tony Allen comes in. It's like now you got your Tony Allens because he got to guard a Kobe, he got to guard an AI, he got to guard a dang, why do I always do this? I always name 2 and then blank out. You got to guard a Paul Pierce. You know what I'm saying? He always like, but Tony Allen is like what we think of as the defender. And I think nowadays, like the guys now coming up now, like a younger kid, I'll be like, who the best defender in the league? They're gonna probably think of Draymond Green. So he got a case, to be like, yeah, I'm the best defender ever. But back in the days, it was like Tony Allen, first team all defense. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So yeah, you right. Shout out to Tony Allen, man. Give that man his respect.
Yeah, this is a clip. We gotta post this one, bro. This is a clip right here. We gotta post this for Tony, man. Like the grind father, bro. Just the grind father.
The grind father. I ain't heard that in so long.
Yeah, man. So I think that pretty much wraps with the 2 guard, man. I didn't expect to talk about Tony Allen so much for the 2 guards, but shout out to Tony Allen, bro. Like,
so what Tony Allen said. You said best defender. Hold on.
So when he start spelling Tony Allen with a D, I didn't know Tony Allen started with a Draymond, bro. Hold on, bro. Like, that's wrong.
And then I remember the tweet he said, like, I don't remember word for word, but he was like, you ain't got no witnesses. Like, you need more people. I was like, hey. When 2 people arguing and you don't want to say neither one of them wrong, but one of them make a solid point, you like. Hey, what he said? I ain't say it, but him.
I'm like, hey. You just keep listening, like, You just keep listening after that.
That was me when Tony Allen said that. I said, "Sure." Hey, all you say at that point is like, "Sure, he ain't lying. He ain't lying."
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I'm that
Uh,
dude that when two people argue, I'm like, he ain't lying. I just need somebody beside me. It's like, yeah.
oh, yeah, that's funny.
But
But yeah, I think that
move.
pretty much rest of the two guards, man.
Yeah, man. So last position we got left, probably the most dynamically changed position we got, other than the five man. We kind of touched on already. Point guards. Point guards have changed drastically.
Yeah, I think um I think you have to mention if you had to pinpoint guys who okay, the first two you think about revolutionized the game has to be Steph Curry and Allen Iverson. That's hands down the first two.
Hmm.
But I think if you had to throw other guys who were like I just got done saying with the two guard, like you think about all time best guys, two guys from the generation I had growing up were Kid and Nash. That's two of the guys who are top 10 point guards all time. So, and I feel like it's going to be tough for you to talk about today's game and not mention Steve Nash. It's if you can mention the game without mentioning Steve Nash, you're doing a disservice talking about the game. Because Steph Curry was talked about as being a Steve Nash before Steph Curry really took off. And if you really want to be technical, you still have to mention Steve Nash because that boy could shoot the pill off that ball, bro. He was just in the
Yeah.
era. He talked about it himself. He was like, if I played in today's era, I would be more of a Steph Curry type because the point guard was trained to be pass first, get everybody involved. It's a it's better for you to have 10 assists than to have 20 points. You feel me? So like I said about Tony Parker, he would have scored the ball a lot more, but the three ball wasn't as prevalent as it was back then. Steve Nash could have scored a lot more 30 balls, but he was trying to get 10 assists and get everybody involved and run the offense more. But you have to mention Steve Nash when you're talking about the point guards from our era and growing up, especially for today's game, because that man was a sniper, bro. Like, we talking about lighting people up like this. He was probably, if I mention all time skilled players, I would throw his hat in the ring for all time skilled players. Like, he was Kyrie with the left hand before Kyrie was Kyrie. Like, his offhand plays were just as nasty as his right. The passing, I'm talking about hook passes, behind the back passes, pocket passes, finishing. Like, I'm talking about the little mini running hooks he had off different legs. Like, his left hand was ridiculous, man. So Steve Nash has to be in that conversation of all time greatest point guards and all time greats of that era, man. So um but I think you have to mention his name when we talk about, the transition of that era. And, a lot of point guards still look at his film and stuff to look at how to do certain things, man. So of course the obvious is AI and Steph Curry, but I think Steve Nash would have to be the third point guard of like who revolutionized the game because he was part of Mike D'Antoni 7 seconds or less, era too. He was the forefather of what today's game is too. So I think, Steve Nash is probably the other guy you have to mention for what changed the game to what it is now.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Steve Nash led the league in 3-point percentage, I want to say, at one point in time when he was
Probably.
playing.
I
Like
would not
something
be
like that.
surprised.
But yeah, he's part of the transition that of point guard shooting the ball a little bit more. But like you said, you gotta obviously give the most credit to AI and stuff. And then with AI came guys like we mentioned Gilbert Arenas. Um
Mm-hmm.
I feel like but even before AI, it was Penny Hardaway. I feel like Penny Hardaway one of my
Mm.
personal favorite guys, like point guard wise. I feel like Penny Hardaway was one of them great scorers slash passers because he had Shaq, so he was facilitating, but he was a scorer though. And
Yeah.
people was calling him like the next Magic Johnson because he was tall. He was like 6'8", something like that, playing point guard.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But Penny wasn't no Magic Johnson. This man he'll dunk on you. Like this man was getting to the rack. I used to love Penny all the way highlights. But Penny Hardaway, I feel like is a guy that helped that transition. And I'm gonna throw out another name. I feel like kind of helped this transition. I don't know if you. I feel like you a basketball head, so you probably don't know, but a lot of our viewers might not know. Mahmoud Abdul Rauf. I knew you would know, but a lot of like, if you in here, if you don't know that name, look up Mahmoud Abdul Rauf. I know that's kind of tough to spell, but spell it the best you can. They'll figure it out. This is another bucket at the point guard spot before his time, like way before his time. So like athletic, fast, quick, get downhill in a hurry. He was one of them guys. I think he was well before his time that people don't talk about enough. He kind of got eight balled in the league a little bit for some other stuff, but we ain't gonna get into all that. But yeah, definitely one of the guys that was probably like helping in the transition, I would say. So, then you get into the early 2000s with AI, you get into Gilbert Arenas. That turns into the mid 2000s to 2010s of Derrick Rose. Then you got your John Walls, and then your Russell Westbrooks come in. And then now you got a league full of guys like that. Then, Steph Curry comes in and like changes the game, to just point guard and all out, like every level scoring. You know what I'm saying? Then now you got your Stephs, you got your Dames, you got your Trae Youngs, you got your John Morants. You got guys like that. They make it to where like a guy like Ben Simmons who can't shoot, it's like we don't even want to put him at the point. We want somebody who can score to handle the ball the most. Like the guy with the ball in his hand the most got to be a scoring threat. So that's when a guy like a Ben Simmons becomes like hard to play. Now we're trying to play him at a different spot. That's why you see Kyrie playing the point, Ben just Ben still in the lineup, but Kyrie technically the point guard because the guy we want the ball got to be in a better scorer's hand, 9 times out of 10. So that's why you see that. So that's kind of where the transition was. Them guys, such great scores, like it made the league change. It was like, hey, if you don't let this man handle the ball, who gonna handle it? We can't put him off the ball. That's not his game. It's like let this dude handle the ball, let him handle the offense. He gonna make the right decisions. He can score the ball. And then we run offense through him. And so that's kind of where it went. They forced the league to change. It's like, man, I need the ball. Not these other boys that can pass.
Yeah.
Like, because back then that's what the point guard was. The point guard was a facilitator. The point guards was rondos, Jason Kidds, who had a scoring ability, but they was facilitators. That was the point guard spots back in the days. But now it's like, we want the ball in the hands of somebody who a scoring threat, like every possession. If you ain't a scoring threat, then you almost hurting the team. We'd rather, and I feel like that's where you see like that kind of helped LeBron's case. It was like, who's really a better scoring threat, LeBron or Mario Chalmers? Let's let LeBron run offense, and he good enough to make the right decision. He's smart enough with his IQ to make the right decision, and not turn it over. So it's like, get LeBron, let him run it, let him run it. So. Yeah. I feel like that's what the evolution of the point guards, I feel like that's how that went.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm glad you mentioned D-Rose because I'd be reminiscent if I didn't bring him up too. He's right there. He's right there with Nash as being like the third guy that really changed the game because skill-wise, Nash brought the game to a whole nother level. Like the stuff that players are doing now, being ambidextrous. Like Steph. I promise you, bro. If you did a highlight breakdown of Nash and Steph Curry, I was gonna say Steve Kerr and Steph Curry. Steph Curry is really just Nash on steroids. Like he's just Nash, but more shooting. That's pretty much all it is. Like I give Nash, of course, the nod with passing. I'm giving that to Nash, but like it's pretty much Nash, but just amplified of the shooting. That's really all it really is. We go into details, nitpicking stuff in there, but for the basics of what the game is, that's kind of what the thing is for them. So, but D Rose took the athleticism of the point guard to a whole nother level, bro. Like, you look at the Steph Marbury's and the franchises and the guys of that era who were just the 6'3" guys who were pretty athletic and the Kevin Johnsons and stuff. They're bang on the big and stuff. It was cool, but Derrick Rose was oh my goodness, bro. Like that's why our generation loves D Rose so much because what they did was cool, but what he was doing was cold. Like, oh my goodness, bro. Like,
We had never seen nothing like it.
and we never will again, bro. Like, I think he's one of them aliens that we just you can't replicate, man. I love Ja, but he was not D Rose, man. Like, oh my goodness, bro. I love Ja. Like, I think Ja cold, but he fits in that Grant Hill category of like, what if, man? Like Penny
Man,
Hardaway, the what ifs. So I just feel like you can't. I'll be reminiscing if I ain't bring up D Rose as far as like the third guy to really change the game for that era, man. But like you said, the point guard was pass first. It shifted because of AI was like, man, you like 2 foot tall, bro. You can't be no two guard, but we got to get the offense going some kind of way. So here you go, Eric Snow. You run the point, and AI, you do what you do. We'll figure out the rest. We just put defenders around you, and we'll cook. And that's kind of what shifted the mold for point. If you're gonna have a scoring point guard, AI was what the Larry Brown did with the 76ers was the layout for pretty much the 2000s of a scoring point guard. Okay, you're gonna score, we're just gonna put defenders around you and a point guard with you so everybody can get involved. And Westbrook kind of fell into that mold of what they wanted to do with him because he was playing with I forgot the point guard's name, but he had a couple of different point guards at some point to where Russ was the two guard. If you
mm,
remember when James Harden was there, James Harden came off the bench and he was the point guard. Westbrook was primarily the two, and KD, Jeff Green, you got Serge Ibaka later on, all that crew. So the point guard really became that dude. The transition over that time. So I think D Rose, like, it's really like from '07 to like '09 draft the guy because D Rose was like '08. I think Curry was like 6 or 7, I think, of that draft. Wall was like 11. But that era of guys was just really what changed the game to be pass first to primarily shoot first. And it became accepted during that time because Gill was shoot first, but it wasn't as accepted. So you still had to average, maybe 18 to be cool as a point guard, but everybody's involved. Gill was like, I'm gonna average 25, and y'all figure out the rest of that stuff over there. I'm gonna get my 4, 5 assists. You figure out other little stuff out over there. So whoever getting the rest of them assists, Larry Hughes, he defending, and y'all that's cute. I'm gonna get my 25 to 30, and you catch those out the rim if I miss. So that's kind of what. So AI had to crawl, so Gil could walk. So now the rest of these boys running. You see Steph Curry take off running, so thing. So that's kind of
they
what the point guard
running.
position was, man. So yeah, that's been an interesting change of evolution of the point guard, bro. But that's been the most dynamic and most you know flipping of positions besides the power forward / center position, man. So that's point guards are crazy right now, man.
Yeah, cream of the crop right now. We mentioned it. They the cream of the crop. Small forwards and point guards. They running in the league. If it wasn't for Joel Embiid and Nikola Jokic, we wouldn't even be talking about centers no more.
That's
Like
true. Yeah.
Joel Embiid, Nikola Jokic, and then who? Rudy Gobert, DeAndre Ayton. I can throw DeAndre Ayton in there, but no, point guards and small forwards running the league.
Yeah. Yeah. I
So
think one more thing that really shifted the game. So I think about it earlier when we talking about the small forwards, like the athlete being an athlete became a position almost in itself. If you were athletic enough, we'll figure something else out. That
facts.
that became a thing during our era too, because there's so many guys who are just like, man, you're just super athletic that we'll figure something out as you go. We'll get the skill as you go. So, man, you 6'8", 6'9", 7 foot with just crazy athleticism, you can play a position and we'll just get build the skill as we go. So you might have not saying Andre Iguodala wasn't a skilled player, but that made me think about it too. So you have a lot of wings, like 3 4s, who are just super athletic. They be dunk contest type of guys, and they're just super athletic. But they didn't have the skill as much to really lock down and be position. And so,
True.
like a Richard Jefferson, who was just super athletic, you could play the game cool, but you're too athletic to not have on the game. Like you're too athletic to pass on. But now it's like you have to be a super athlete, and now you have a foundation of skill level. So that's where an Ant-Man comes in, Anthony Edwards, to where I got that generation's athleticism with this generation's skill come together, which is why he's so crazy. So yeah, you had the guys back in the day who were just super athletic, but you came in with super low skill level. You could hoop, but like, can we put you on organized basketball and produce? Not as much. Running the floor, running the game, running gun, cool. 'Cause that's what's popping back in the day. But nowadays it's like we're gonna blend it to where open the floor, we running. Zion, you perfect. Let's run. Cool. Half court, sit on the bench, bro. We got to put Tony Allen in. We're gonna lock up right quick. So that's kind of what the game was back in the day, man. Like you could out athlete people up into an extent. After a couple years, it's like, okay, bro, look, that skill clock is ticking now. What the skill looking like? Unless you just Dwight Howard and you just can ridiculously out athlete people, you had to have some skill, man. But I think that's another thing that changed too, to where now you see a lot of guys who are now just super athletic and stuff, but their skill isn't as much, but it's better than what you had before. But the IQ was better back then, so you didn't have to be as skilled, but the skill came later. So that's another thing I saw too, where you could be drafted basically as an athlete and we'll train the skill later, versus now you're super athletic and we can produce some level of skill to come along with it too. So uh,
Right.
that's probably my last thing I think about the evolution of the game. Oh, now I got one more thing, but any comments on that?
Oh no, you all right, man. I feel like athleticism is the new height. Now people used to be like, can't coach height. Now it's more
Yeah,
about athleticism. I can't coach somebody who can drive down the lane and do a windmill 360. So
yeah.
I can give them skill later, but right now we're gonna build on that. But what's your next point?
I was thinking about this too. When we talked about with Shaq, like Shaq moved the big man from the block to the short corner. But Steph Curry said, there ain't enough room for me, bro. Take them bigs all the way out to the corners. So now it's like you can blame Shaq for making the bigs go from block to block to the short corner and wings. Steph Curry said, man, give me all the floor. I need y'all all the way out. So if your big was gonna be on the floor, he could not afford to be anywhere short of, the 3-point line. Because he took that dynamic duo of the Twin Towers out the way. So Shaq said, nah, you gotta have one of them on the floor. Forget all that. Spread the floor out. Steph Curry said, man, take both of them out, bro, and we finna run, and I'm finna shoot. So,
Get both of them out there. Okay, Kobe Bryant.
hey, woo, woo. Get both of them. Get Powell and Gasol. Get Powell, Gasol, and Andrew out the way. Both of them gone. Move them. So,
Crash when I shoot. That's all I got to do worry about.
yeah, I think that's another thing too, man. So, Steph Curry really revolutionized the game, man. So we can blame Steph Curry and Shaq for killing the big man, but that's basically what we summarize the episode as.
Yeah, that about to tell the story for real. When you tell the story of basketball, Shaquille O'Neal killed the bigs, and Steph Curry put the nail in the coffin. So y'all watch out. Us point guards got it from you. Now you got all your big Steven Adamses and Hassan Whitesides and you know Bam Adebayos. You got your occasional Carl Anthony Townses and
Yeah.
Kristaps Porzingis and stuff like that, DeAndre Ayton's. But for the most part, nah, boy, watch out.
Yep.
I got it. But man, that's all I got on it, man. Is there anything else you want to throw in there before we get on out of here?
Man, as soon as we get done, we'll think of something else, bro. But that's all I got for right now. But I
That's
think,
part
man,
of it.
it's almost every episode, man. But I think I was thinking about this in the middle of it, man. I think this is a needed thing because a lot of old generations don't break down their generation and what kind of culminated to what happens now. You feel me? So a lot of coaches be like, man, do your research and study about what uh John Paxson did, whatever. And it's like, John Paxson, bro, like, what? Like, come
John
on,
Paxson.
bro. Like, he cool, but like, what are you doing here, bro? Like, I'm pretty sure people don't even
I
know who
hate
we're
that.
talking about now, but I think it's a needed thing because sometimes you don't need the history lesson, but sometimes it makes sense because now you can start to piece things together of what happens. Like, if this happened, then this is why this happened. This is why this happened. So like we just said, we blame Shaq for why the bigs went from the 5 to the 4. Now I blame Steph Curry for the bigs going from the 4 to the bench because that's just what the game happened to. So,
But you know, it went.
but yeah, man, I think this is a needed thing, man. It's kind of cool, man, to see the evolution, kind of like a mini history. It's so many players that we didn't mention and give enough talking about too, but this is a quick little hour and a half rundown of a mini history lesson from the 2000s to now, man. But we could do a month worth of podcasting about this alone, bro. But this is kind of a needed thing, man, for people to kind of like, with the younger generation, get a better concept of the game to like fully or get a better grasp of what happened to the game, man, and how what happened now isn't just some random thing. It's a cause and effect of stuff that we had from this generation before, man. So this is kind of fun to kind of reminisce on a little bit too, man. Think about the game different angle, man. So, yeah, man. I think that should wrap it up for it, man. But that's it for me, man. You close it out if you got anything else.
No, I think I'm good, bro. Like, like you said, I think it's good for younger hoopers to know where the game comes from, not just where it is and where it's going. You gotta know where the game comes from. My daddy said it. You gotta know where you come from to know where you're going. So that's kind of what this episode is about. Just so y'all know where we come from, because where it is now, we ain't come from this. This is what it is now. So we kind of rolling with it. My daddy complained about it all the time. I ain't gonna try to be him, but 20 years from now, I don't know. We'll see. But that does it for us here at the BeBall Jones podcast, man. We appreciate y'all for listening. Hope y'all enjoyed this episode. Just touching on a little bit of our knowledge of the game from where we started, our starting point in basketball in the early 2000s, moving into the 2010s all the way up into now. Hope y'all enjoyed that little take, man. Be sure to like and subscribe, and be sure to comment down below. Anybody we may have missed, anybody you feel like may have changed the game, anybody you feel like aided in the transition of the evolution of basketball. If we missed anybody or anybody we threw in there that y'all think didn't belong in there, feel free to comment down below. Let us know what y'all think. But we always welcome those comments. We always check it, man. So we appreciate that also. Be sure to follow Brian on all social medias at BeBall Jones. That's BeBall Jones on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, and on TikTok. So be sure to go check him out over there. Be sure to follow me on Twitter at NellyH34, at Nelson.Haskin on IG, and find me at my name on Facebook. Be sure to follow the podcast on TikTok. You see it down below on the screen at BeBall Jones Podcast. Got plenty of clips up there for y'all to enjoy, man. If you missed the full episode, be sure to check them out and then go watch the full episode, but we greatly appreciate that also. But yeah, go check us out over there on TikTok. But that does it for us over here at the BeBall Jones podcast, man. Once again, we appreciate y'all for listening. Hope y'all enjoyed it. Be sure to tune in next week for another great episode. It might be another little basketball talk. It might be a debate. It might be an interview. You never know, man. You just got to check us out to find out. So, appreciate y'all once again, man. We'll see y'all next time. Without further ado, we out.